I'm so pleased everyone could make it this morning. This is lovely.
I've got to say, it's nice to see such a lovely group of young baby boomers who all still have aspirations.
Right?
We're all
And
young.
why not? And why not have aspirations?
Especially at heart. If you're on this list, you're young at heart.
That's right. That's right.
In baby boomers, there is baby.
All right, good morning. I'm going to get started, and Tim, my co-host, will let people in as they arrive, if there are any late arrivals. Let me just get to sharing my screen here, and we'll just do a little bit of housekeeping first, and then we'll get into a fabulous conversation. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, hello everybody. Today's topic is, you want to start a business at your age now? Are you crazy? And I am certain that some of you have had this response if you've talked to your friends and family about starting a business. So the agenda today, we're going to spend a little bit of time just making sure everybody's, I'm sure we're all Zoom experts and everything, but just doing a little bit of housekeeping, who we are, what this is all about, announce our sponsor and prize, run a little poll, do a little introduction, and then get into our fireside chat. We are Karyn Zuidinga and Tim Bramwell. We are co-founders of Silver Start. We are also both Silver Starters ourselves. Entrepreneurs. We have both spent a great deal of our career in the digital space. And I also have a podcast. And so what is Silver Start about? Our mission is to redefine the entrepreneurial culture to be much more inclusive of people over 50, to help them create successful mission-driven businesses. What is it? Right now, it's a meetup group with chapters in Vancouver, Calgary, and Toronto, and thank you everybody for joining today. It's really wonderful to see the numbers. We're adding chapters in Victoria, Kelowna, Edmonton, Ottawa, and Halifax, so we will be coast to coast. The meetups will all be online for now. We'll meet on the third Tuesday of each month. And our guests will be other Silver Starters who can share their experiences in fireside chats and presentations. Soon, we'll have a website, silverstart.ca. We'll be launching an incubator/accelerator aimed at people over 50. The intent there is to really create a space for people to do this with somebody else, with a small group. We know how hard it is to start a business. We know that you need trusted people you can turn to who will tell you, not that you're crazy because of your age, but you're crazy because your idea is crazy. And someone you can talk to, a guided program, access to advisors who get what it's like to be a Silver Starter and not thinking that they're talking to a 20-year-old. I want to be really clear, you don't have to be in the incubator accelerator to come to the meetups. And now, thank you to our sponsor, Wendy. I don't know if you're online, but Wendy is the author of Wiser, the definitive guide to starting a business after the age of 50. And she has generously offered to give away one free ebook to one of the participants today. Tim will, at some point during the meeting, pick one of the participants from the people who are online and contact them and give you Wendy's contact so you can claim your prize.
Totally at random, I promise.
Completely at random. No favorites here. We just want to start with a quick poll. What is the biggest hurdle you faced starting a business as a Silver Starter? Tim will put that poll up. We have a bunch of choices there, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, I can see some answers are starting to come in. That's beautiful. While everyone's answering that, I will introduce our amazing guest, Fabienne Jacquet, who's the founder of Innoveve. She founded an innovation consultancy aimed at helping businesses unleash their feminine skills to disrupt innovation. It was a leap of faith, I think, Fabienne?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a great place to start. Wow. What were you thinking? You were a chemist, I believe, for 30 years at SC Johnson. Is that correct?
Nope. It's the competitor. It's Colgate-Palmolive.
Colgate-Palmolive. Close enough.
Big one, yeah.
You were a chemist and you created fragrances, yes?
I worked in fragrances, but it was more in home care, personal care, oral care products.
Right. And so you decided that you'd had enough of that after 30 years, and you started to become a consultant in innovation and broadly in innovation. And not only that, but focusing on feminine skills to disrupt innovation. What? That seems like a really disconnected leap.
This is a very interesting comment, because my career is a little bit all over the place. Being from New Jersey, as you can hear, yeah, so I'm French, I'm American now. I'm a chemist. I actually have a PhD in organic chemistry, and I'm also a marketer, because in the middle of my career, I just jumped into marketing and started from scratch. Mm-hmm. So my career, and I've been working in Europe, traveling the world, working in the US, but the thread all along my career was my passion, my DNA, which is innovation, challenging the way things are to try to create better solutions for the world. So, as you mentioned, 31 years of corporate life, and the higher you get in hierarchy, the tougher it is for women. I love the corporate world. It made me who I am. I had the best training. I traveled the world. I discovered I have friends all over the world, which is fantastic. However, I felt inside that I had another mission. And so I really thought about leaving. I started to think about what I wanted to do. I gathered, I'm a scientist, remember, I gathered information, I talked to people, I did my DNA testing, I had a coach, I did a lot of different things. And one night, I woke up. It was like 3 a.m. I usually sleep like a baby. And I just said, Innoveve. My husband said, what is that? And I just said, you know what? This is my new company. It's innovation and the feminine, because I think we need feminine energy in innovation. So it came really out of my intuition. And I talk about that in the book I am actually writing. But I didn't have the courage. Let's be honest.
I want to back you up there. Talk a little bit about the not having the courage. What did that feel like? How did that manifest for you?
Being the breadwinner, having a comfortable life, being afraid of jumping into something I had no experience in, doing your own business. I didn't want to go to another big corporation. I looked at small companies, and then I developed options. So I put on the paper everything I could do, all my options, including being a decorator, being a translator, which was like one of my childhood dreams, and so on and so on. But then this came to me. It's really this Innoveve came out of from my guts. And you have to listen to us, I believe. So this is how I decided I wanted to do that. But then my husband has a very good analogy. I was at the edge of the swimming pool, and I was afraid to jump. And what happened is there was a big reorganization in the company I was in at that time. That was really nice to be able to start my business. So when you really want to do things, you send signals to the world, to your energy. I think you're listened to. So this is how I want this business.
So what were the big challenges then? And were there any challenges? You were how old when you started your business? You were 60 years old. You do not look. Do you think there were specific challenges related to age that you faced?
Actually, not related to age. Of course, as you mentioned, some people want to say, what? You're 60 and you're starting a new business and you have no experience? Are you crazy? I say, yeah. I am crazy. This is why I'm doing it. But I think...
To be clear, you could have just taken the package. You were close to retirement. You could have just stopped and, taken up golf or any one of a number of other things. Why? What drove you to start a business, especially because you were feeling that trepidation, right? Like, oh, I want to do this. But, I've talked to a number of older entrepreneurs now who all experience that same, particularly if they've been in corporate, that same transitional kind of angst, right? Like, ooh, I don't know what this is. I've never done this before. You've probably never run a profit and loss sheet. When you're involved with marketing in a large organization, it's not you on the line. It's just them. So there's a big difference.
Yes, absolutely. I think that there are a couple of reasons, but I got a lot from the world. I was privileged. I mean, even if I didn't grow up with money, but I grew up with values and education, and I could do what I did. And I want to give back. I want to give back because I think the world also needs some compassion, this feminine energy, and the future starts with innovation. So what a better place to start by, having those feminine values of empathy, intuition, inclusivity, and so on in innovation to create a better world. So I really want, in my way, have a little bit of impact in the world and not just stop here and just enjoy what I've built in my life. There are other ways of enjoying what you have acquired, psychologically and even materials things, but giving back to the community in my way. And what I know is innovation.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. So what about the challenges related to your age? Did you face any particular challenges?
Yes. It sounds counterintuitive, but I'm still facing an issue with credibility, and I don't know what the poll results will be. But this is huge, because despite the fact that I have 31 years of experience of innovation globally, internationally, in big companies, that I can prove I have launched products made millions of dollars, people look at me, oh yeah, but prove me that Innoveve works. I say, it's like asking a student, show me your professional credentials, everything I need in my experience to succeed. But somebody has to give you the credibility is something that I found very disturbing, because I have been labeled an expert to be by young people who don't know anything about innovation. I was like, this is a really strange situation to be. You have the experience, you have the expertise, but still you have to prove.
Yeah.
And to increase your credibility.
Do you feel like there was ageism involved in that? Is that kind of going on, or is it just you don't have 1,000 logos that you can throw around companies that you've worked for?
Yes, I think this is more that ageism, frankly, I didn't really feel it. It was more what you said, oh, prove me that you work. Show me your clients. Well, I'm starting. I can show you my corporate credentials, but I cannot show you clients for Innoveve because I don't have any yet. So this was the biggest struggle I had there.
And do you think you had certain advantages?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it really comes more from inside. I think as baby boomers, we have self-confidence. I think we know who we are. We know what we can do, what we're good at, not good at. And also, very importantly, I think we learn how to eliminate toxic people around us and really focus on the people who bring value. And I think this is absolutely essential in life. When, less discriminating when you're younger, and it can hurt us. But having the right people around us, I think is really a big asset. And when you're older, with your experience, you know how to do that.
I liked how you framed it, eliminating toxic people from your network. Just, okay, we don't need that toxicity in here, putting up a boundary, if you will. You mentioned briefly, as you were talking, it flew right by that you're also writing a book.
Oh, yes.
That feels like even crazier to me. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's even crazier because I'm not, as I said in my announcement video, I'm not I'm a talker, not even to mention in another language. When you want to find clients, to your point, you have the push and pull. You can chase customers and clients, but I don't think it's me now. So I want to attract the right clients. And, from what I understood from my network, writing a book is really something that can attract the right people.
Spend a minute or two talking about the pushback around unleashing your feminine side. I can imagine there are men who are feeling a little off balance by that.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm positioning the book is really the feminine and the masculine energies that we have in us. And actually, I interviewed neuroscientists. And our brain is a mosaic of female and male patches. Gender is not 0 or 1. Gender is really a continuity, a spectrum, and we're all somewhere. This is why the book is called Venus, the female prescription point. So you can turn some men, when they read, they will understand this is really about the feminine and the masculine. So it's really the energy associated with the feminine and the masculine. It's not men versus women, although gendered world. So we have to talk about it, of course.
Of course. And I'm seeing there's a bunch of questions coming in on the chat. And so I'm going to ask you one last question, and then we'll turn it over to the group to ask their questions. I think that I want to make this a pattern that we repeat through all our guests. If you were starting out today, what advice would you give another silver starter? Do you have a word of advice? Do you have oh shit, I wish I'd never done that? or wow, this was the best thing I could have done?
May I have a couple of them?
Yes, of course.
The first thing I would say is really to create a diverse network
Mm-hmm.
and to invite young people into your network and mentor young people. This has been invaluable to me. I learned so much from younger people, the reverse mentoring and so on. It was fantastic. So from corporate, I had a very uniform network. It was more, men, of course, and more, corporate profiles and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't do it quick enough. So definitely networking, go to events, target the events and so on, but build this diverse network and a support network.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stay alone. I have a very, very organized social agenda. I have at least 3-4 social events, even if it's like a Zoom now or a coffee when we will be able to do it with somebody, but talk and have the social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of the warning, I've made a lot of mistakes, but one is getting enthusiastic about partnering with other people and being burnt.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful when, people approach you because they love your energy and so on. They say, let's do something together. And before you know, they are not, very serious about it. So I think there is a balance. I think it's better to be together, but you have to be, again, selective when you pick partners to do projects with. Also, the last one I want to leave you with is
just go with it.
Take it easy, enjoy the ride, and have fun. I really enjoy the journey. I love challenges, obviously, and this is fantastic because you are rediscovering yourself. And one of the challenges I felt is that at my age, I don't have that much time to make an impact. So I better hurry up and, do it.
Yeah, I appreciate all of those bits of wisdom around the network, around, having fun. Take your foot off the gas pedal maybe a little bit and let what comes. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tim, do you want to maybe, I don't know if you've been monitoring the chat. I'm seeing there's a fair amount of action there, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people talking, saying things, sending things to each other. There's only a couple of questions. There's actually comments about how older people appreciate service, etc. There's a lot of comments about what Fabienne was saying. One of them was this lady also comes from the industrial chemical field and understands the issue about being a woman in a male-dominated environment. But she says it's not like it was 40 years ago with more chemical engineers or female graduating. She sees a lot of positive energy towards more equal footing. So, and in fact, in her business, which is also in the science sector, it seems like she doesn't see any gender divide anymore, which is actually very, very good. I wanted to ask a question of Fabienne. Are you working a 40-hour week or are you working less than that? Or what's your work schedule like in terms of what it was compared to, say, when you're working for Colgate-Palmolive?
Well, so I don't count. I just don't count what I'm doing now. And I may, take a day off when I feel like I want to take a day off. Right. Or I work like the entire night with my book, especially. It happens that I wake up at 4 a.m. because I'm inspired. So I go and write for 2 hours and then go back to sleep or have a nap in the day. So the freedom is, to me, is the core. I have, my entire life, it was with restrictions and, guidelines and so on. I have the freedom. I want to enjoy the freedom.
Are there any questions coming from the group?
David Feldstein has a hand up.
Not a question, but a comment from what Fabienne talked about in terms of her freedom. I've been involved with many businesses over the years. One had 300 employees, and even though I owned it, I think I once took a 2-week holiday. So I was looking for a different business model altogether in my retirement, and one of the main factors was time freedom. And we don't really realize how important that is until we have it. And I can go and watch my grandchildren an event now just because I can, etc. I don't have to ask anybody. And I find my energy level of working is even higher because I know what I can do what I want to do. And so that's one really, really big factor when you're looking to get into some sort of a business. The second one is how much capital is required and how risky is that capital at our age. It's very, very important, and how complex the business is, how many employees you have, all that kind of thing. What is the competition factor?
Can I just interrupt you for a second, David, and ask Fabienne, did you run to any of those capital issues, those complexity issues, as you were sort of going through your own thinking?
Naturally, because it's a very light structure. I'm based on from home and so on, so it's me, it's my time. So it's a different business model for me. I'm not creating something. I'm not creating a product. I invest in my website, in the necessary things to handle a consultancy, but it's a very light business.
Sorry to interrupt you, David. I just wanted to get Fabienne's experience on that one.
I understand that. And the other thing, which a lot of people have already mentioned, is it should be mission driven. At our age, isn't it nice to earn some money, but also help people out? Yeah. And so I found this service called Legal Shield. It's been around for 48 years. And our mission is to allow the average person access to the legal system, which is unbelievable. And so I just love it. I meet all kinds of very, very nice people and get them in a subscription-based business model access to the legal system, whether you're running your business or an individual.
That's fantastic. And I totally agree with you, David, on the idea of mission-driven. Is anyone else in the group having that sense of, now that I'm older, now that I don't have the same responsibilities I did when I was younger, I'm really interested in starting something more mission-driven, something closer to my heart, like Fabienne did, as she put it, in her own small way to change the world. Oh, we've got a question, Sean Navy. Thank you, Sean. Please speak more to your personal process in writing your book. Also things like inspiration, research model. Great question.
Okay, how I wrote the book, again, being a talker and not a writer. Actually, it was the 2nd of January, and I was in my living room, and I was like, basically crying. I will never be an entrepreneur. You know, the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster of starting a business and so on. And a LinkedIn message pops, and it was a lady I had met at one of my neighbors' Christmas party, who is helping young startups and so on. And she said, "Oh, how are you doing? I love what you do." And I was like, "Well, not that well." I said, "Okay, jump on a call." And after half an hour, she said, "You have to write a book." And I'm rolling my eyes. Okay, another person telling me I have to write a book. And then she said, "Listen, whatever, as I said before, whatever you want to get, the right clients, the book will bring." I said, "Yeah, but I said, and I have the silver bullet, and I will share it with all the participants if they want to do that. I am doing it actually with a book creators program created by a professor from Georgetown. And it's an online community with fellow writers. It was designed for students at the beginning, for his students. So it's affordable, but he extended to people like me who are first writers and don't know where to start. So it's a 20-week program, very organized, and it's fantastic because you don't start by writing, you start by interviewing people, by writing stories and so on. So it's a fantastic program that I will be very happy to share with whoever wants to know about it.
Fantastic. And we were chatting yesterday a little bit in preparation for this event. And, I've written not a book before, but online courses and things like that. And I think it's harder than starting a business. You're forced to examine all your unexamined assumptions. You're pushed to it. Can you just share a little bit about that and what you're gaining from the process? Because it's hard and it's painful and it's lonely.
Well, it's not lonely because of this program.
This group.
No. But here, it's fantastic. We support each other. So the question again?
It's more about the challenge of it. We talked earlier on about the credibility gap, the uncertainty, standing on the edge of the pool and diving in, and because the water's cold. If that's what starting a business is like, then writing a book is standing at the edge of the pool and seeing it's filled with ice.
Yes. Regarding the research, because I think this is a very important point. Remember, I'm a scientist and I got a PhD, so I love research, but I did it in my time going to the library and going through these big, heavy chemical abstracts and reading with my eyes like that the entire night. Now I have the internet, which is fantastic. But to your previous question, it helps me challenge my own business and my own assumptions. For example, when I say that empathy is feminine, how can I support that? So this is how I ended up, interviewing neuroscientists. I interviewed anthropologists. I did a lot of research on that because I want to be able to prove it. So it helps you support whatever you are saying about your business. It helps you support it with research and, very importantly, interviews. Interviews have been fantastic. I interviewed a lot of people, and the best surprise is that the best insights came from people who are not related to innovation. It was fantastic to see that. So it's very rich. It's an experience. And again, I enjoy the journey there.
Thank you. And thanks very much for Fabienne, for your energy and excitement and the passion of what you're doing here. When you say you want to do innovation in the feminine, do you want to support more women in doing something innovative, or are you trying to promote the more feminine qualities that you mentioned in both men and women in the field of innovation? And how are you going about it, whichever route that is?
This is an excellent question, and it's both, actually. So the bigger picture is that in any human being, you have the feminine and the masculine, and that for innovation, you need both. Because innovation is creativity turned into business. So you need the logical, you need the creativity, you need everything. And it's tough to have that in one person. We're lucky enough that we have this duality. However, we are again on the spectrum. So the workshop I have and Innoveve is about rebalancing an innovator wherever they are on the spectrum of masculine and feminine towards either masculine if they need it, but a lot of people need feminine because we live in the masculine world. This is a fact, okay? We just have to accept it. It's not a criticism, it's a fact. So we live in the masculine world, so most innovators need to reconnect. So what I did, I identified 6 feminine traits that I placed on the innovation process, which is empathy, inclusivity, nurturing, intuition, gratitude, and collaboration. Okay, so I teach how to reconnect to those values. Your point in the first question is that it happens that naturally, biologically in the brain and by upbringing and education, women are in the best position to innovate for other women. So I also, as a byproduct or low-hanging fruit, I also talk about that. Does it answer your question?
I'm very excited about what you're doing, so we'll look forward to exploring that a bit more with you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you, Noam.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Andrew Hoffman has raised his hand as well. Do you have a question?
You bet, Tim. Thank you very much. Discussion, Fabienne. I appreciate your points thoroughly. So at 49, I was told I was too old, too expensive, which is very odd because I said my son was 2 years old when I was 49. So
Wow.
Also, I was not too old for some things in life. So I'm happy to see a lot of other gray beards and gray hairs on today, finding a webinar that I can relate to for ageism. What I do is a little franchise sales and development. The vast majority of my clients, quite frankly, are 45 and older. And so some of the points you made, Fabienne, I would translate to my field of endeavor. Whether I help a firm develop their franchise or a person to apply for and acquire a franchise, I have 5 key principles I look at, regardless. Skill, experience, passion, desired lifestyle, and your financial strength or merit. Simple as that.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate that perspective. It's not something I had thought about, but there are so many overlaps. Do we have any other kind of perspectives here? Maybe other people who have experienced a credibility gap themselves, or who have taken that leap of faith and started something they weren't really sure was going to work?
There's a couple of hands up here. One with, I'm going to apologize in advance for saying this wrong. Is it Shazir? Is that right? Okay.
I'd give you 100%, Tim.
Okay, thank you. First time ever, 100%.
First and foremost, I got to thank Fabienne for sharing such wonderful wisdom. Thank you very much. I was in the business world for 27 years, and at the age of 53, I was able to retire. And having given up the business did not mean I gave up the business life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to give back so much to the business community, and that wisdom that comes with having gone through the mistakes that so many young people do, it gives us an advantage to be able to help them not repeat the same mistakes we had made. So I sit on a board of a large charity right now, and I sit together with a group of retired CEOs. What we do as our business model is to help other businesses succeed and try and shortcut that learning curve that they go through in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So this organization's been around many years. We volunteer our times. And it is our own group. It's been around since 1963. I joined about 15 years back.
Okay.
Now, the advantage of having a group like this to go to is the fact that we can actually be the guides, because a lot of us come from different industries, different sectors, and the value, it comes from different areas. For instance, we just heard about the franchising model. We can certainly be very good guides in saying, is this the right fit for you? Because not every business is the right fit for the individual. So being able to decipher that gives us a huge ability to shortcut that learning curve. And the biggest challenge with seniors with silver hair like me is the fact that we become cautious. We're jaded, we've had experience, and sometimes, you heard the statement, paralysis by analysis, where you kind of hold yourself back because gee, this is going to go wrong, this is going to go wrong. When I started my business at the age of 25, I had that courage born of naivete, not knowing any better. And you jump in and you make a lot of mistakes. But then you have the energy, you have the drive, and you are a scrapper and you make through with it. So those are some of the pluses and minuses of having a senior person go into business. The good news, and I think you'll like what I tell you, is the fact that more ladies are entering business these days than men folk. We are meeting and consulting with so many women who are trying to get into business. And the biggest difference we find, instead of being so money focused, they're much more on the collaboration, the empathy that you mentioned. Those are immediately great buttons, hot buttons that people will relate to, because businesses these days are all relationship based. And if you can give them that, I think this is where ladies excel. However, the number side, being able to strategize and look and say, if I can't measure, I cannot manage. Those are the kind of skill sets the masculine side brings to the picture, which makes a wonderful balance. Being able to give that help is absolutely essential. Out of the 10 of us, there are 3 ladies in our group, all retired CEOs. So if I can be of any assistance anytime, I'd be very happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Fabienne, I think that I saw you nodding and nodding and nodding. I think there's a lot here that you're relating to, yes?
No, absolutely. Exactly what you said is that, as I said, we need both. It's not exclusive, it's inclusive. So we need the masculine and the feminine. You have a very wonderful book, which is called Shakti Leadership. The feminine and the masculine in the business. I interviewed actually Raj Sisodia. Is fantastic. And this is about that. This is reconnecting, rebalancing, being human beings that are centered. And this is exactly what we said. We need both. We need both. So thank you. Thank you very much, Ishir.
I have a question, but I'm going to wait. You've got is it Mulaki Ka? Sorry, I really butchered that one. Go ahead. It was hard, but sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. And tell us what your name is about. Introduce
Thank you. Thank you, Karyn, Tim, and Fabienne. This has been fabulous. I love hearing about the ventures that Silver Surfers are taking. So this is wonderful. And also hearing about the values that people want to bring forward now that all of us here have life experience that we can bring to business. These are absolutely, we integrate the values that are important for healthy lifestyle. For most of my life, I've been very much an entrepreneur as well, but have been through a few failed businesses only because I just had no clue what I was doing and didn't really have didn't have the guidance and the mentorship of people who had life experience and have been through the ups and downs. And so I wanted to offer one thing that I noticed as well that I was hearing from people when I was going through business was that, they liked what I was offering, but didn't have the money. And I can completely appreciate that too, because, I'm sure a lot of us have been through many ups but downs as well, and can relate to, especially coming to our golden years and silver and golden years, that money can be an issue. And so I wanted to let you know, if anyone's struggling with finances, I do financial education. There's no cost for it. So if anyone has questions, please let me know, and we can figure something out for you.
And we have a comment from Monica. Failed businesses are more valuable experiences than a degree.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Fabienne, thank you very much for that. And again, I didn't get your first name, and I'm not going to try the second time. Fabienne, I have a question. In your presentation, you talked about networking, how important it is to what you do. Can you give a brief summary of how you do your networking? What kind of networking it is? Is it, obviously with COVID right now, coffee conversations are tougher to do, but how have you been doing it over, say, the last 6 to 9 months?
At the beginning, remember, again, scientists experiment. So I went to a lot of things. I was like all over the place, covering Earth and sun. And then I started to sort out. And then I started to get organized after a year. So the first year, I kept all the badges, all the name tags I had and so on. I was all over the place. And I just wanted to discover the world because, I was really confined in the corporate and I wanted to open, as I said, to other businesses, small businesses, women, young people, startups, and so on, new worlds for me. But then after a year, what I did, I organized. I did, my marketing strategy. And I say, okay, what are my objectives for networking? I have several objectives. One is support. I need some support. So I have groups, especially with women, who are really supporting. Others are to find clients. For example, the French-American Chamber of Commerce is a great place because I'm French-American and so on. So then I started to be more strategic about it. And also for financial reasons, you cannot be a member of every single group you cross, okay? So now I'm at a point where I have a nice balance between supporting, trying to find clients, and luckily I could build the relationships before the pandemic. So now I've been on Zoom calls and the community is very helpful there. And I'm always on the look, for something new. People recommend groups. I'm looking for it because the network, you have to nurture it. It's not like, I have this network and that's it. You have to nurture it. You have to follow up, and it's difficult. And the first corporate not doing it enough. Follow up on the relationship, but also expand it. Be very open. At the beginning on LinkedIn, I was very close. I would accept invites only from people I knew or knew somebody I knew. Now I just, very open because I think this is exploring the world, and this is how the diversity brings, richness in your relationship and your business.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a quick tip on how you're networking now? Because it's much harder. How are you managing to network now, and how are you arranging interviews for your book? Probably you don't know everybody you want to talk to.
No, so networking is through events like that. Another thing I forgot to say about age is that after 31 years of corporate life, I have a big network of people. Yeah. And precious. This is something that young people don't have. And I think the network is really what is the biggest richness we can have as an entrepreneur. So I reached out and I found LinkedIn being fantastic. Mm-hmm. I was asked to write a speech on feminine skills in cybersecurity. I have no clue about cybersecurity. I went on LinkedIn, just selected some women. I interviewed 15 women in the top, cybersecurity jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. I was really surprised how when you reach out to people in a very natural, authentic way and passionate way, people just answer. And the book, another level where people really, when I put it was like 2 weeks ago, I put my book announcement video. Oh my God, I was so happily surprised. People reach out, say, I can be interviewed, or I know people to interview. I want to be on the pre-order list. So, another thing I didn't do before because I was very masculine, ask for help. Learn how to ask for help. And this is one of the best advice I can give to you. And especially when you're older, you think you know it all. No, we don't. And about entrepreneurship, I'm learning every day.
Wow, thank you so much, Fabienne. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Our next meeting, just let me take a breath here and say thank you so much, Fabienne. That was a wonderful conversation. I know I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that we got some really great questions off the floor. It was very dynamic, so thank you so much for that. And our next meeting will be July 21st. We're going to be talking about doing business in a post-pandemic world. Our guest will be Joe Tankersley. He's a futurist, a former Disney Imagineer. Fabienne, we both know Joe from another group that we're connected to, and he's a wonderful speaker, smart fellow, and will offer a lot of insights, I'm sure. So that's our next meeting. Thank you so much. If you want to find myself, Tim, or Fabienne on social, Here are our coordinates, if you will.